Okay. And I'll be the facilitator to our today's speaker, our own Dr. Khadijah Abdurrazaq. She's a healthcare provider based in Midland, Texas. She specializes in pediatrics. Dr. Abdurrazaq has expertise in several areas, including routine checkups, immunizations, child development, and varying childhood, acute, and chronic conditions. So it's a great privilege to have you on today, Ma. And as you'll be speaking with us today, I would really appreciate if you have any questions, we can try to write it in the chat, and whenever it's time, she will proceed to it. You can go ahead, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good evening. And it is a privilege to be part of the NIWT family, and honor to be invited to give this talk. I chose pediatric obesity because of the prevalence of obesity in our communities and what we are seeing in the clinic. I hope you can all hear me. Do I need to speak any louder, or I'm good?
We can hear you, ma.
Thank you.
Yes, ma.
I also decided to share the screen here. I'm hoping that that would allow us to at least have some participation. So obesity is considered a public health concern in the United States, actually, and it's now considered an epidemic, not even endemic, but more of an epidemic. So to put it in perspective, in the 60s, only 5% of children were obese. Now currently it's about 20%. So 1 in every 5 children that we see in the clinic is actually obese, not overweight, but obese. And it's projected that by 2050, about 57% of our youth will be obese. That means in about 25 years from now, children that are 10 years old will be obese adults. There are racial disparities as well as where we live. For instance, the southern states of the United States have more obesity than the north and the western areas. So the more congested the city is, where people don't have cars or areas to park, they tend to be more active. And in Texas, where everybody has a car and we all park far from we all park at the garage or right to our stores, we have more obesity. So there is more obesity in the Hispanic and African population than white and Asian population. There's also income disparity. It is more common in children of lower socioeconomic and lower than affluent households. So it tends to be more common in the poor, or that's what it used to be. I beg to differ on that. I think both poor and affluent households battle with children with obesity. How do we define obesity? It's based on body mass index mostly. We compare weight and height, and that's how we come up with the body mass index to determine who is obese and who is not. In adults, we use absolute numbers. So 18 to 25, for instance, is considered normal in adult, 25 to 30 as overweight. Above 30 is considered obese in adults. Severe obesity will be above 35 and morbid obesity above 40. In children, we make use of percentiles, we make use of growth curves. So we have above 95th percentile being obese in children. And it's been shown that because of the worsening obesity, they had to expand the growth curve. So we now have not only just above 95th percentile, but we now have 1/20th above 95th percentile being severe obesity, and then 140 above 95th percentile being severe obesity. So how do we categorize weight? We have underweight, we have normal weight, we have overweight, we have obesity, we have severe obesity, and we have morbid obesity. So in children, if their BMI is less than 50th percentile, we say they are underweight. If their BMI is 5th to the 85th percentile, we consider that normal. Overweight children are above 85th percentile. Then we have the class 1 obesity, that's 95th percentile. And if you look at this, 1 in 5 children are 95th percentile or more, with only, so about 20% fall into class 1, class 2, class 3, and the remaining 80% are 85th percentile or less. And this is the growth curve. Now you don't need this at home to know where your child's BMI is. So you can easily go online, plot it on an online calculator, and it will come up with your BMI percentile. But this is what we use in the clinics. So children falling below the 5th percentile, those are the underweight kids, right? And then anything from the 10th to the 85th percentile, these are the normal children. 85th to 90th percentile to 95th percentile. Here we have the overweight kids, and then above 95th percentile, we start talking about obesity. And then we do have other growth curves to rank obese kids. And this differs with sex too. So the one I showed before was for boys, and this is for girls. BMI, of course, has its limitations. For instance, in children with heavy bone mass, for instance, their bone mass will contribute to their weight, and children that are growing rapidly will gain weight also. So we have to consider that it is not a foolproof tool, but it's the only tool available right now to assess weight compared to height and to determine obesity. But we always put this into consideration when children are heavy boned, or because it does not calculate adiposity. It doesn't calculate fat content of the body. But it's all we need, all we have, and all we use at the moment, despite its limitations. Now, what contributes to obesity? Policies. We have marketing. So when children watch TV, when they watch cartoons, they are marketed, they are targeted audience for unhealthy foods. They are targeted audience for McDonald's, Burger King, chips, cookies, sugar-laden beverages. So they are a target audience, and when they watch all their TV shows, they see all these things being marketed to them. They are interested, and then they tell their parent, "We're having pizza tonight," because they just saw Domino's on the TV. So children are a target for unhealthy food. Then some communities don't have resources, access to healthy food. So that is also a risk factor under-resourced communities. And then we have food insecurity is a major problem. Despite the affluence in the United States, there are some communities that don't have enough food. And when they have access to food, they may overindulge. Or when they go to the stores to buy food, they tend to shop unhealthy options. And then there's the neighborhood and community factors contributing to obesity. So parents will tell me, we don't have that at home, like when you mention foods that their children should not be eating or that is considered unhealthy. I don't buy that. I don't have that. We don't eat that. But children spend a lot of their time at school, and the school lunches are not particularly known to be healthy. So they do get served unhealthy options at school. And some that are older, that those in the high school, middle school, that have access to go out of school to eat, will leave school lunches and go eat unhealthy fast food. And that is a big contributor to obesity in our community. Lack of fresh food access, most of the food are either frozen, processed meat, processed food. That is a big contributor. Fast food proximity. So if you look at where you live, you're probably within maybe a 5 to 10 minute drive from where you all live. It's a fast food. So we have them coming up in every corner in Midland now. You know, McDonald's is in every street corner. Burger King, Texas Burger, Pizza Hut, Domino's, they're all in every corner. And sometimes they tend to be cheaper, though nowadays fast food is not necessarily cheaper, but historically, it used to be cheaper. Access to safe physical activity. Most of us will not let our children out on the street to play and exercise because it's not safe. You know, a neighborhood that is supposed to be 20 miles per hour speed limit, someone is going down the speed limit at 50 miles per hour. So you're not going to want your child to go out on the street to play. In the olden days, in those good old days, kids can go outside to play safely. But these days they can't. So they are mostly indoor and they are not getting enough physical activity in a safe manner. Environmental health. So we all know that the environment is not healthy, and we think that may be contributing to obesity too, in terms of what we inhale in the environment. Parenting feeding style. So it's so common with parents. My child is not eating. My child has reduced appetite. At least on any given day, a parent will bring a child telling me that this child is not eating and this child is picky or she doesn't want to eat. And if you weigh the child and put them on the growth curve, they're perfectly normal. Sometimes they have a BMI of 85th percentile, 75th percentile. These are perfectly normal children. Parents tend to think that it is the chubby, obese kid that is healthy. And not necessarily the normal child is considered thin by most parents, and the obese child is the healthy one, and that's the way parents perceive children. So they tend to force feed kids, and that's not proper. So force feeding children and making them eat more than what is appropriate for their weight, age, and sex. So pushing food is a big problem there. Then sugar sweetened beverages, sodas, soda pops, fruit juices. A lot of people are of the opinion that fruit juices are healthy, but not necessarily so, because fruit juices tend to contain a lot of added sugar, and this is not healthy. This is not healthy. Powerade, Gatorade, these are considered healthy by some parents, but not necessarily so. Unless if you are running a marathon, you are into sports activities, very busy, you do not have any business drinking Gatorade and Powerade. So these are all sugar-laden beverages. Yogurt, for instance, is a very healthy choice of food and snack, but laden with sugar makes it unhealthy. Then you have certain food with artificial sweeteners, labeled zero sugar, fat-free. So we have to be wary about zero sugar food, zero sugar drinks, fat-free food, fat-free drinks. All these processed drinks and food have chemicals that are added to them that do not necessarily make them healthy options. Then portion sizes. So this is an African thing, right? So we eat large, and that contributes to obesity. African and Hispanic population tend to eat large, and eating large portions do contribute to obesity. Snacking behavior. Children snacking on chips, cookies, and all what's not. So I tell parents, buy fruits. They want to snack, they're opening the fridge 24/7 a day. Let them have fruits as options to snack on. It's healthier to eat indoor than to eat out, right? And cheaper too. Eating as a family is much cheaper and healthier than eating out. Screen time, children playing video games 24/7 contributes to obesity. So fine, they are indoor, they are not outside, they are not getting into trouble, but excessive screen time is not healthy. We need to find them extracurricular activities. We need to create time, take them to the park, have them run around, burn energy, take them swimming. If we can afford to put them in martial arts, boxing, soccer, football, volleyball, tennis, lots of sports activities out there that we can try to enroll our children in, rather than putting them in front of a screen. We have 6 months old that know where the power button on the cell phone of mom is. And just to let everybody know, screen time is a no-no before the age of 2. And after the age of 2, screen time should only be 2 hours or less. The less sleep deprivation. So children are known to be sleep deprived. They don't go to bed on time. Children need at least 8 to 10 hours of sleep. The older they are, the more sleep they need, actually. So teenagers don't get any sleep, but these teenagers are the ones that actually need about 9 to 10 hours of sleep, but rarely do they get that. Younger children too need 8 to 10 hours of sleep. So we need to get our children to have adequate and good sleep hygiene. The less sleep they get, the more stress they go through, and stress we know does contribute to obesity. Hopefully, we don't have a lot of smokers around us. We should not be smoking indoor. We should not be smoking in the car. Secondhand smoke exposure not only contributes to obesity, but a whole of other health problems in children. Adverse childhood experiences, I'm hoping that's not common in our community, but it does exist. Children that have been exposed to trauma in early childhood have been known to go through, to be at risk of psychosocial stress, which can in turn lead to obesity. Now, what is the impact of obesity? Why are we worried about obesity? It's not really about being heavy or being overweight or being obese. It's not really about the numbers. It's really about what is the impact? What does it lead to? We now know that children, and we are seeing this actually in real time. We know children that are obese also tend to grow up into obese adults with all the consequences, short and long-term healthcare consequences. It used to be they'll say they have baby fat. Most kids don't shed baby fat. They just grow up to be adult fat. So an adult fat with all the attending health consequences. These days, right in the pediatric clinic, we are seeing children with hypertension because of obesity. They have elevated high blood pressures. Their systolic blood pressures are high because of obesity. Their ventricles, their heart is working too hard. So they're having left ventricular hypertrophy. Cholesterol is a huge problem. So we're seeing children with high cholesterol, high total cholesterol, high triglycerides we've seen them with high triglycerides, we've seen them with high LDL, we've seen them with low HDL. So in perspective, you have your total cholesterol, you have your triglycerides, which is mostly just fat in your blood. And then you have your HDL, which is supposed to be your good cholesterol that will protect your heart from heart attack and heart disease. And then you have your bad cholesterol, which is LDL. And we are seeing that children are having high LDLs, which is the bad cholesterol, low HDL, which is the good cholesterol. We are seeing them with very high triglycerides, which is just pure grease. And then we're just seeing them with elevated total cholesterol and VLDL. We are seeing pre-diabetes a lot of pre-diabetes. And if you are pre-diabetic, it's just a matter of time that you develop insulin resistance, that you develop type 2 diabetes. We are also seeing them with fatty liver. And what is fatty liver? This means that they are having a lot of fatty deposits in their liver. They are putting a lot of stress on their liver, trying to metabolize all this fat. Eventually, this leads to liver fibrosis, it leads to liver cirrhosis, it leads to liver failure, it leads to liver cancer in adults. Another problem is the stigma that is associated with weight gain. When children are overweight, they develop psychosocial problems. They have low self-esteem. They are subject to bullying at school. They become depressed and they have low self-esteem. How do we prevent obesity in children? We've talked about the impact of obesity. We've talked about them having pre-diabetes, having high cholesterol that can lead to heart attack. We've talked about their liver problems. We've talked about psychosocial stress, depression, low self-esteem, being victim of bullying. It's very important that we take our children for their healthcare checkups. Sometimes parents do believe that routine health checkups is just about immunization. And when the doctor says, you've got your 4-year vaccines, your next vaccine will be when your child is 11, and then parents don't show up to the clinic until the child is 11. So between 4 and 11, the child is not going to the clinic for their checkups. But it is important that we take them annually for their well visits, because that is when the doctor will be able to assess the risk of the child. And if they starting from age 2, so we start accessing BMI very early on in life, starting from age 2, and your pediatrician will be able to tell you, hey, your child is having a high risk of obesity. This child is gaining weight. They can track the weight all through the child's lifespan, and they can monitor their weight, monitor obesity, provide interventions very early on in life to prevent all what we talked about. It is recommended nowadays that we screen children for cholesterol regardless of their risk factors, regardless of obesity. That means between the age of 9 and 11, all children are screened for high cholesterol, regardless of whether they are thin or overweight or obese. Secondly, we screen all children between 17 and 21. Now, if we do identify additional risk factors, then we screen them in between these ages, either before or after. Ways we can use to prevent obesity is one, portion sizes. So we can use portion and making sure that we are not giving them too much portion is very, very important. We can go to myplate.gov and it can show us precisely how our plate should be portioned, even for adults. So if you imagine your plate, for instance, you can cut your plate into 4 quarters. 1/4 of that plate should be carbohydrate, which is your whole grain, rice, bread, pasta. That is 1/4. The other quarter should be your proteins in terms of chicken, fish, meat. Then 1/4 or the remaining half of the plate should be fruits and vegetables. So that's how the plate should look like. We should encourage more water and low-fat milk early and replace those sugary drinks. Replace unhealthy snacks with more fruits and vegetables. Encourage children to get outside and play extracurricular activities. Limit their use of video games, screen time, etc. So this comes to the conclusion of my talk, and my reference is mostly from the American Academy of Pediatrics guidelines in children, treating children and evaluating them for adolescents and children with obesity. Keep in mind that because of the worsening symptoms of obesity in children and adolescents, there are now medications that are being approved to treat obesity in kids starting from the age of 12. We are trying to prevent using these medications. Bariatric surgery is actually being approved for obesity in adolescents starting from the age of 14, 15. We do not want to get to a situation where we'll be putting our children on medication and putting them through surgery. Early intervention is the key. I hope my talk has been useful to everybody. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.
All right. Thank you so much, Doctor. Really appreciate you. I mean, for the time you've used to give us a good talk. Thank you so much, ma.
You are welcome.
All right. And I would like to summarize all you've said. And if I'm wrong, you can please tell me, no, I didn't say that. Or, okay, that's not the way I meant. You can quote me wrong. So you said, in summary, you said the children and adults, there's higher obese, right, man? And then you said it's mostly common with children with socioeconomic.
Mrs. Gan, you don't need to summarize, doctor. We can all here. Let's go straight to the question. We don't want to summarize. He already presented, so there's no point in summarizing. So let us just go straight to the question. Sorry to cut you short.
No problem, sir.
Okay, let's just read from the chat. That way we can proceed and get her to answer some of our questions.
But right now, there's no question from the chat.
Okay.
Okay. So I can see some questions. It says, in many Nigerians' homes, being chubby is seen as healthy. How do we shift that mindset?
Yes, so I did mention that exactly. Not only in Nigerian homes, in Hispanic homes too. So yes, being chubby is being considered healthy, but that's not true. And sometimes being thin is not necessarily healthy either. So we have to be very, very careful about the weight stigma there. And I would tell parents, so I've seen thin kids with very, very high total cholesterol and high LDL. And sometimes this is genetics, right? So there is a genetic component to all we are talking about. So it's very important that's why we have talks like this to educate parents that being chubby is not healthy. Being overweight is not healthy, especially when you screen such a child and you find numbers that are really alarming. For instance, diabetes is hemoglobin A1C of 6.4. And normal hemoglobin A1C should be 5.6 or less. And then you come and see a child that is coming in with hemoglobin A1C of 5.9, 6, and 6.1. And you know that is a ticking bomb, right? So you're telling that parent, hey, your child is chubby and your child is very unhealthy. And they come with cholesterol LDL of 150s and 130s instead of less than 100. So you tie in a total cholesterol of over 200 and LDL of 130s, plus pre-diabetes of 5.9, and that is a child that is a candidate for starting. So you start putting them on medication very early on at the age of 9 for life for high cholesterol. So those are the risks that is there that is inherent in unhealthy diet. So it's very important parents go for their well visit and that we educate each other that being chubby is not healthy. Well, being active, being physical, maintaining a normal weight is what is healthy. And a thin child that has a high metabolism but is feeding on junk food is not necessarily healthy either. So overall, we just have to change our dietary habits, make sure we're having fruits, vegetables in our refrigerators, that we encourage our children to eat healthy food and to exercise and drink mostly water.
Okay, thank you, May. Another question here says, portion control in kids can be challenging. How can we stick to portion for kids without being labeled as starving them?
Yes, or being mean. That's true, especially when they are crying for more, when they are crying for seconds. Again, that's why if you look at the portion control, let me see if I can share something here. I want to escape this and I want to go to myplate.gov. So this is how our plate should look like. This is how our plate should look like. I don't know if can we see that? So we can see that this should be our whole grains. This should be our pasta, our rice, our bread. This should be our protein, our fish, our meat. This should be our vegetables, and this should be our fruits. So when we ladden the plate with fruits and vegetables, they would fill up on that. They will fill up on that, and that's how you can get your portion under control. When they are hungry for more, asking for seconds, create a fruit bowl or a salad, and that will help with portion control.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Okay, another one here says, what do you do when a child is very picky with what to eat and they generally have a low appetite?
So picky eating is very common in children, and it's very important not to force feed children. When you force feed them, they have food aversion. So the more you force a child to eat food, the more they're going to tell you no. And they're going to exercise their independence. And then it becomes a tug of war. Eat, no, eat, no. The best thing is to go with the flow. Just try to make sure that you have a healthy, balanced diet. So some kids just want to eat peanut butter and jelly for a whole month. Bread and peanut butter, morning, afternoon, and night. Just look at the plate. If it looks healthy enough, just give them what they want to eat with that, as long as they are not asking for donuts and pizza. Because I have parents that will tell me my child is picky and all they want is donuts and pizza. Well, we should not be indulging children with donuts and pizza. That's not being picky. That is indulging in an unhealthy diet. Well, sometimes the child is actually eating healthy. They're eating just maybe one particular food. For instance, parents may tell me she's only eating rice, boiled egg, and maybe carrots, for instance. So that's a healthy plate, but that's all the child is eating. It's just rice, carrot, and boiled egg. In that case, just go with the flow. Give the child what they want, even if they're eating the same thing over and over and over, as long as it's a healthy choice.
Okay, ma. Thank you, ma. Another question here says, is there stigma around talking about childhood weight issues within Nigerian families?
There may be a stigma, especially if you're coming from a place of bias. So we have to be careful how we approach each other with regards to weight. So, for instance, a child that is overweight or obese may get picked on at church or at mosque or on the playground, and the parents people may accuse the parents, what are you looking at? Why is your child this big? I mean, like, how did you let this child get this big? So we have to be sensitive. We have to be culturally sensitive to how we approach weight, and we have to approach in a more constructive manner, coming from a place of care and empathy, and not necessarily from bias and stigma.
Okay, thank you, ma.
You're
Okay,
welcome.
another question here says, ma, are genetically modified farm products having anything to do with obesity?
It's possible. I really can't say to that. It's really difficult to know what is and especially the United States, what is purely organic and fresh and what is genetically modified. It's really, really difficult to say. But I would say as long as it's natural and not processed, you should go for it. So I would rather go for a genetically modified apple than bologna, for instance, if you get my drift. So processed manufactured food are never the healthier option. So going natural when it comes to food choices is much better.
Okay. All right, thank you, ma. And another question here says, how do we make nutrition education part of everyday life in our homes?
Nutrition education as everyday life, I would say we should chill, right? So let me use that word, chill. So we should make it more fun, more encouraging, more part of the lifestyle instead of, I don't want us to use the word education, okay? But for instance, education can start at the grocery store. That's where it actually starts from, right? So if you go grocery shopping with your children, you can teach them to pick healthy options so that you do not have unhealthy options. Another thing is sometimes we have just maybe only one child that is maybe overweight or obese in the household. We can't decide to buy chips and said, oh, the chips are only for A, B, and C. No chips for this D guy because this D guy is obese. So the doctor said you should not eat this. So it's only for your sisters. No. Everybody in the household have to eat the same food, the same plate, and must have healthy options. We can't have chips, cookies, soda, Coca-Cola, Fanta in our refrigerator and tell the children, you can't have that. That is for daddy. You can only drink water. So incorporating nutrition education is the entire family adopting the same healthy habits and eating the same meals. And eating together as a family does help.
Okay, ma, thank you, ma.
You're
I have
welcome.
another question here that says, can we say that early poverty and obesity are directly related?
There have been talks and research about that. We are indeed seeing early puberty, but not necessarily as a result of obesity. We do have kids that are obese and they are not necessarily going through puberty at an early rate. Sometimes you see a girl with an obese girl with breast, and parents may think that they are going through puberty, but there's actually no breast tissue. It's all fat. It's all fatty tissue. So obesity may correlate with early puberty, but not in all cases. So you could have like hormonal changes in obesity, for instance. For instance, obesity, fatty cells have been known to be converted from estrogen to androgens, and this can contribute to obesity, but like I said, not in all cases.
Can you mute, please? Okay, I'll go ahead. Thank you, Ma. Someone said, I don't know if it's a question, but I'll try to read it out. I personally restrict my kids from drinking soda until they are 12, but they have access to it in school and parties. How can parents enforce rules without raising red flags to parents?
So let me address the one of parties. Since I don't know how often the children are going to parties. If they are going to parties often, then we may restrict them altogether. And there should be no age limit to restriction. That means it should not be, oh, you're 12, you can drink soda, you're 6, you cannot drink soda. I think the risk is equally the same for a 12-year-old and a 6-year-old. If parties are once in a while, I think it's okay that they can indulge once in a while. But if parties are every weekend, for instance, then maybe not. Sometimes kids are given sodas at church or at the mosque. They go once a week, they drink that. That's probably okay. That's different from it being in the household and they having access to it every day. As for school, that should definitely be a no-no. So I don't know if schools serve soda because they should not. And if schools are serving soda, then they are not helping our cause, right? They are directly contributing to obesity because they go to school every day. So we can write a letter if we have sure that they go to a school that serves them soda at lunch, for instance. We can write a letter to school. You can even request a letter from your pediatrician to school stating that your child should not be served soda, but it can be served water or low-fat milk. I do believe they serve milk at school. I've not heard of soda being served at school.
Okay, ma. Somebody already said schools do not serve soda.
Yeah.
All right, thank you so much, ma'am.
Yeah,
Please.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know the one.
Okay, I'll go ahead to the next question, ma'am.
Yes.
It says, are we seeing early onset of diabetes or high blood pressure in Nigerian children?
Can you repeat the question, please?
It says, are we seeing earlier onset of diabetes or high blood pressure in Nigerian children?
I have to confess that I do not have a lot of Nigerian children as patients. So I'll probably be limited in my answer. This talk is just to create an awareness that if we have obese children, then yes, an obese child, regardless of race, heritage, ethnicity, is indeed at risk of high blood pressure, pre-diabetes, and type 2 diabetes. And we have actually seen type 2 diabetes recorded in children as young as 5. So yes, regardless of whether you are Nigerian or Egyptian or Hispanic or Asian, if you are obese, then indeed you are at risk for high blood pressure, pre-diabetes, and hyperlipidemia and fatty liver disease. Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, ma.
You're
And I
welcome.
have one question I would like to ask you, ma. With someone who is underweight, how does such person undo that kind of situation because the person is underweight? Eating
So,
fatty food, does it have any negative impact
like eating fatty food.
just to gain the weight?
So, yes, it can have negative impact. So, gaining weight, increasing weight gain is not done by eating fat, it's by increasing your calories. So,
Okay.
we have ways of increasing caloric intake, mostly by eating more protein. So you can increase calories with more protein. You can increase calories with whole fat milk, for instance, which, yes, it is fattier than 2% milk, but it is milk, is natural. So eating junk food, like eating grease, for instance, does not necessarily help with weight gain. Sometimes we can put children on appetite stimulant to increase their appetite to gain weight, to make them eat more, to make them feel get more hungry. So increasing caloric intake, encouraging increase in portion sizes, putting them on appetite stimulants can help them gain weight, but not necessarily eating fast food. No.
Okay, ma. Thank you, ma. And the
You're
last
welcome.
question I would like to ask is, a family that has diabetes, how do that lineage kind of not make it keep going from one child or one generation to the other? Is there a way to avert it?
Sometimes you can, but sometimes you cannot. But the most important way to fight against genetic tendencies is all what we've been talking about, right? So
Okay.
I know real life stories of children who are pre-diabetic, who have genetic tendencies to be diabetic because their parents are diabetic and they are screened, they've been found to be diabetic, and by going through lifestyle modifications, they're able to reverse pre-diabetes. So for instance, someone that is pre-diabetic with hemoglobin A1C of maybe 6.2, but with lifestyle changes, eating healthy, drinking water, physical activity, they're able to lower that number. Instead of towards 6.4, which is diabetic, they're able to bring it down to 5.6, which is in the normal range. So you can delay what I can say, like the inevitable. So maybe if the person will eventually develop diabetes at maybe age 45 or 50, that's better than developing the diabetes at 25 or 20.
All right. Thank you so much, ma. And
You're
I would
so
like to
welcome.
ask if you have anything else you want to say to us, any advice, concerning what you've taught us today. We really appreciate, or there's something you haven't said you would like to say it. You can go ahead, please, ma.
Yeah, not really, but mostly the fact that genetics does play a role in what we've been talking about. Genetics does play a role in hyperlipidemia, in hypertension, in cardiovascular disease, in diabetes. So we can round it up with genetics plays a strong role. but environmental factors also do matter, and we can try to mitigate our genetic disposition with lifestyle changes. So we can use we can pick 3 states in the United States, for instance. We can pick Texas, we can pick California, and we can pick New York. And if we pick all these 3 states, we can guarantee you that Texas definitely has a higher rate of obesity than California and New York. Mississippi, Louisiana, all have higher rates of obesity than the northeastern states like Boston, for instance. Why? Those areas are very congested, so they rely more on public transportation. People walk from their homes to the bus stop, and then they walk from the bus stop to take the train, and then they're coming back from school. The children will take the train, they get down, and they have to walk home. Children in Texas will leave their house, get into the garage, up into the car, get driven to the school, and get dropped off right at the school entrance and just walk into the classroom, right? And then when we get to the stores, what do? We pick up our car and we drive to the store, and we're looking for the parking lot that is the closest to the entrance of the store, right?
Yes, ma.
Because we don't want to walk, right? So
Yes.
we have land and we have huge parking, and we all drive cars. And by the time you are 15, we're asking you, did you get your permit yet? Because by the time you are 16, you have a car.
Yes.
Yeah. So so our risk is much higher because of the state, just by virtue of the state that we live in.
Yes, ma.
So compared to other states that are in the Northeast. So lifestyle matters a lot.
Thank you so much, ma.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Permit me, ma. Someone just put one question, and I think
Yes.
after that we are done for the day, ma. The person
Okay.
says, for busy parents, what substitute easy or fast food can be advised that is healthy and budget friendly?
Okay. So that is where meal planning comes in. So
Okay.
we are very busy, right? We go from 7 o'clock in the morning. We are not back to 7 in the evening, and we are exhausted. And what we think about first is we want to go to, man, there's no food in the house. Okay, let's order pizza. Mom is tired, mom is exhausted. So it's very important to meal plan and meal prep. And we can do this with kids even as young as 5 and 6, and we can have like a timetable. Okay, we're going to have sandwich, or maybe you're going to have cereal, but it's going to be healthy cereal. Okay, you're going to get like whole grain cereal, rice bran cereal for breakfast. For lunch, okay, we're going to pack a sandwich, and one of my patients have a nice recipe of avocado toast with eggs. So that's not going to it doesn't cost too much, right? You can make toast, you can put avocado spread, you can put boiled egg, you can put a lettuce on it, and you got a sandwich, you got a meal. And if you don't like avocado, you can put like a thin spread of butter on whole wheat with boiled egg and lettuce, and put another layer, and you got a sandwich, right? And then for dinner, I'm a busy person too, so I would cook weekends when I'm free, and I will cook the entire meal for the whole week. And you can microwave the food, so you can cook vegetables. We can cook okra soup. We can cook ewedu. You can put it in the refrigerator. You can make small portions of swallow, not big, but small portions of swallow. Put it in the refrigerator, and that can be warmed up for dinner. You know. So planning ahead can help with budget-friendly food, much cheaper than that McDonald's and Pizza Hut that you are picking. It's convenient, but it's expensive in the long run, both for your purse and your health.
All right. Thank you so much, ma.
You are so
And,
welcome.
and
I
I will
hope
say,
this has been helpful.
yes, ma, it is. It is. We are really impacted with the knowledge you've shared with us. It's so impactful. Thank you, ma. And I will say
Thank
on
you.
behalf of the Nigerians in West Texas, we are saying thank you, ma, for your time, for the knowledge you've imparted to us. We really appreciate it. Thank you so much, ma.
You're welcome. It's been a pleasure and I enjoyed meeting with everybody today. Thank you.
Thank you, ma. Yes, ma. Thank you, ma.
All right.
Yes, ma.
I guess I'll wait for you to exit everybody out. Thank you.
Okay, ma. Thank you.